Dr. Neha Vora was used to surprises in her line of work. As one of the leading neurologists at the Central Institute for Brain and Nerve Disorders, she had seen it all, from rare neurodegenerative syndromes to patients who defied every known prognosis. But nothing had prepared her for what she discovered on a quiet Tuesday morning in June. It started with a phone call from the emergency department. An unusual spike in stroke admissions, 5 cases in just one morning, all of them over 60 years old. All had suffered ischemic strokes, the kind caused by a sudden blockage in a blood vessel supplying the brain. It wasn't the number that surprised her. City hospitals often saw clusters, but the profile of the patients. All 5 were fit, health-conscious seniors with no major pre-existing conditions, no high blood pressure, no diabetes, no smoking history, and every single one of them had been physically active to the point of being described as obsessed by their families. Neha pulled their charts and scanned for patterns. The answer didn't come from the labs or brain scans. It came during a conversation with the daughter of Mr. Harish Taneja, a retired teacher and one of the patients. He started this new exercise, the daughter said, one of those high-intensity chair workouts for seniors. He saw it on a YouTube channel. All fast-paced movements, arm swings, leg lifts, all while sitting. He was doing it twice a day. A few hours later, Neha overheard a nurse mention that another stroke patient had talked about the same video. Curious, she asked one of her residents to look into it. Within a day, they'd identified all 5 patients had been following a trending senior exercise program online, a seated cardio routine marketed as safe for aging joints and promising to boost blood circulation and brain health. But instead of improving brain health, it seemed to be doing the opposite. Neha didn't jump to conclusions. She was a scientist. She needed data. She asked her team to pull a wider list of stroke admissions from the last 90 days and look for any common behaviors, especially among the physically active elderly. The result was chilling. Out of 41 stroke cases in patients aged 60 and above, 23 had started the same or similar seated high-intensity workouts within 3 weeks before their stroke. She dug deeper. The pattern became clear. These seniors, many of them previously sedentary, had jumped into a sudden routine of rapid upper and lower limb movements, usually with light weights or resistance bands. The routines emphasized speed, fast punches, kicks, and rapid head turns, often performed within a tight time window. What the videos didn't mention was the effect of these sudden bursts of activity on aging blood vessels. When Neha consulted with a vascular neurologist, he explained the likely mechanism. In older adults with even slight arterial stiffness or undiagnosed atherosclerosis, sudden repetitive exertion can cause turbulent blood flow. That, combined with dehydration or slight blood pressure elevation, can dislodge a silent clot or narrow a vessel just enough to trigger a stroke. Think of it like shaking a snow globe, he said. Everything inside is fine until you suddenly agitate it. The fact that the exercise was seated gave a false sense of security. It removed the fear of falls or joint injuries, but masked the cardiovascular risks. The next step was the hardest, telling the families. One by one, Neha explained what they had found, that the very activity their loved ones believed was keeping them safe might have increased their risk overnight. Most took the news with a strange mix of guilt and disbelief. One woman burst into tears. "I told my father it was good for his brain," she whispered. Word spread quickly. Within days, the hospital was contacted by other physicians noticing similar patterns. More elderly patients, all with no major risk factors, all following the same trend of safe high-intensity chair exercises. Neha realized this was bigger than she thought. She wrote a detailed internal report and submitted it to the City Health Board. She called for an urgent review of senior exercise content being posted online, especially those that claimed to be doctor-approved without evidence. She wasn't anti-exercise. On the contrary, movement was vital for brain health. But the type, pace, and context mattered deeply, especially after age 60. She launched a small observational study, comparing 2 groups of seniors over a 12-week period. One group did gentle mobility exercises, slow stretches, balance training, walking, and controlled resistance. The other did the trending seated cardio workouts. The results were stark. While the first group showed improved cognition and mobility, The second group had more blood pressure spikes, complaints of dizziness, and 2 hospital admissions due to transient ischemic attacks or mini strokes. That was the final straw. Neha decided to speak publicly. She recorded a video, sitting in her white coat against a plain background, and said the words she never thought she'd have to say. As a brain doctor, I'm shocked. A specific type of exercise marketed as safe for seniors is quietly increasing stroke risk in older adults. If you're over 60, please talk to your physician before starting any rapid movement routines, even if they're seated. Not all movement is good movement, especially when your brain's blood vessels are at stake. The video went viral. Within a week, several popular fitness influencers were forced to issue disclaimers. Some took their videos down. Others revised them to slow down the movements and add warm-ups and hydration reminders. The National Health Authority issued a bulletin warning against sudden cardiovascular strain in older adults without proper screening. Neha's inbox overflowed with messages, some thankful, some angry. A few accused her of fear-mongering, but more were grateful. Sons and daughters wrote to say they had stopped their parents from trying those workouts. One woman said she caught her husband just before he started one of the routines, after seeing Neha's video. Back at the hospital, the spike in strokes began to slow. Cases returned to their usual baseline. A quiet relief settled over the neurology wing. And for Neha, the lesson was clear. In the age of information, danger doesn't always look like a disease. Sometimes it comes disguised as health advice. It comes with upbeat music, flashing graphics, and a promise to help, but with no understanding of the biology behind aging brains and fragile vessels. From then on, Neha added a new slide to every talk she gave to medical students and caregivers. A single phrase in bold letters: movement heals, but only when the brain is ready for it. She never stopped advocating for exercise, but she never let another senior think that fast meant safe. And in her own morning routine, she slowed down, one breath, one stretch at a time.